Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Jigga Vision. Your host, today chopping it up with the one and only Lyric, aka my first child, my first daughter, aka my niece. So I welcome Lyric on the channel. We're just gonna talk and just kind of like tell you folks who don't know how, you know what I mean, Lyric's and our relationship is, and how it was, how it is, and all that good stuff. Welcome to the channel, Lyric.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You look a little bit nervous. Are you okay?
I'm a little nervous, just a little bit.
I want her. I just want to talk. You know, it's been some time since we've connected. I'm glad that you're able to come down here to Florida by the ways of North Carolina. So that's good. First and foremost, congratulations. You just graduated high school.
Yes, I did.
So that's an amazing thing, right? Yeah. So what was it like to be able to finish high school and now move into the big adventures?
I feel like right as I graduated right before, I felt like a huge relief of being able to leave high school. The last month, I feel like was really like a test to whether it was gonna be am I gonna make it or am I not? Because I really let go of high school in the last month because it was like my grades, I was trying to hold on by a thread, but it was but the transition from high school to now has been drastic. I don't have to look forward to a next year. I don't have to worry about whose classes or who's going to be in my class, whatever.
Right.
But it was really a great experience, a bittersweet moment of turning the taps into the left and everything. But I'm glad it's over.
Gotcha. That's dope, huh? And we're all happy for you. And when I say we, talk about the other uncles and stuff, my brothers, right? So it's phenomenal. And of course, other family members. So it's phenomenal that you did go through that journey. It was a tall task. A lot of hardships came, right? So we're happy to see that day. I was happy. I logged in. I was watching you remotely, so that was dope, exciting. I took some screenshots, especially where you got on stage and stuff like that. So it was really, really satisfying for, like I said before, you're like my daughter, right? You know, if you were born, you're a mom. My youngest sister, she's in fact, I said, hey, I'll watch you. I'll take care of you, for some time. That was that. So pretty much raised you till the age of, I'll say 4 or 5 years old, right? Throughout your early stages in life. So it was a phenomenal thing too, because I guess being able to take care of you throughout those years helped me to be a father, a better father, an understanding father to my little ones, you know what I mean? So that's amazing. So I'm always appreciative, like I always tell you, I'm one phone call away. Whatever it is that you may need, whatever advice and things like that, I'm always one phone call away. So let's touch bases on that, talking about the early years. What's your memory on the early years? Living with me, of course.
It was, from what I can remember, it was when I talk about my uncles and stuff, I said, oh, okay, well, I had my Uncle Greg and I had my Uncle Dred, but I mainly remember the times with Uncle Mike because he was my first father. And I say this even to my dad now, I'm like, yeah, well, I had Uncle Mike growing up. I didn't have him. So it was from what I can remember, the times were fun. Every time we were together, I feel like we had fun. We were always doing something fun. My early childhood ages, I think I remember being or living with you. I remember taking trips. I remember our whole family being together, which is kind of rare for kids to remember, but I remember those times. I remember the red pair of pants that you bought me. I remember those were from Target too. I remember that. I remember going zip lining and wanting to go zip lining.
I remember that day like it was yesterday. How you were in Jordan at the time was clowning me because I wouldn't go up there. I'm afraid of heights. So I wasn't going to do it.
Which now I understand why he didn't want to go, because I'm scared of heights too. But it's like you having me having a father figure. That was the most significant, one of the most significant parts of my life. Because I remember living with grandma and being there, and even if grandma couldn't do something for me, I know that you were there to be able to buy that for me. And even if mom wasn't there, you were still there. And it was just really good times. I remember apartments and houses that you had, it was just great times. I don't have any bad things to say about it or anything that I didn't.
Right. And that's the point. I think that, and that's why I said kind of really truly helped me to be a good father, right? I know I'm a great father, but I don't want to kind of toot my own, with my own horn. But I think that helped me because I think what it was about, because with the culture that I was raised in, a child isn't a child isn't human, a child isn't their own person, a child was a puppet. They were told what to do, when to do, and so for me, I wanted to kind of like delete that memory, delete that kind of lifestyle, or delete that kind of upbringing to any kid. You know what I'm saying? And so again, let alone you being not the first child that I've had to take care of, but the closest one outside, of course, the youngest brother, your uncle Bradley. But for me, it was extremely important because the Haitian culture didn't allow that, right? And I'm a firm believer, and I don't care how old you are, I can learn from you. Understand? I have a 2-year-old son and I have a 7-year-old daughter, your cousins. I can learn from them. I continue to learn from them. But in the culture that we're in, it's not like that at all. It's always, you speak unless you're spoken to. And then, they'll give you that eye where you have to stop whatever it is you're doing before you get a butt whooping and stuff like that. So I didn't want to have any child of mine, whether it's my blood, or you are my blood, but whether it's my own child or not, I didn't want to raise them like, I think about, and I'm glad that you mentioned, it's all about having fun. It's all about having a good time within the time. But what I'm big on is respect, right? And what I'm big on is what? What is another thing I'm big on?
Yes.
Another one. See if you remember. Something I tell you never to do, at least when you're talking to me. Starts with an H. Honesty. I am huge on it. So for me, a child has to be respectful, honest, right? That's like my number one thing. Although it's two things, but they're number one. They equate to how important it is for me. And I remember there were times that you would lie to other people, but when we and I got on the phone, you told me the truth, right? And we have these conversations because I'd rather you tell me the truth. You could do anything. You get away with murder with me as long as you tell me the truth. You know what I mean? And then we figure things out later on. So I was big on that. And so to this day, from you to my kids, it's the same thing. So again, you kind of helped out to be the father that I am today. Now, that's kind of so you remember those good memories. You had those wonderful memories while you were with me. Of course, at some point, I think about 5 years old, you then went transition to grandma, which is my mom, right? So how was that life like? How was that for you? What memories do you have? Good or bad?
It was certainly a change. Because from what I can remember, there are good times, but I feel like the bad times definitely stick out to me more than good. Okay. And it was a very hard transition from going to grandma to going to my dad's. That was a huge thing. Okay. But during my time with grandma, I think that's when I ponder on the most because, you think about your childhood pretty often. And when I think about it, those are the real times that I compare. I don't remember, mom was around, but she was always, right. So I always had grandma. Right. And grandma was a great provider, great grandma. She taught me everything that I need to know, manners-wise, spiritual-wise, and everything. Right. But it was very hard to grow up and be a kid when you couldn't be a kid in the household that we were in the religious household.
Gotcha.
So I didn't have many friends. I didn't have many people that I could speak to about the stuff that was going on at home. And having a spiritual household on top of a Haitian household is probably the most craziest canon event that you can have in your life. It was hard, but
imagine me living and growing up through that. Yeah. And at the time, she wasn't even a spiritual Christian at the time. So let alone now that she had some sort of how can I put it, softness or so in her while she was raising you, right? So guys, and not to cut you off, but just kind of bring people in and understanding how important it is to have you here with me for the 4th of July weekend, long weekend that we have. So my sister, her mom, she's no longer with us. She passed away 2017, so that was tough on us as well and as a family. And also my mom, her grandmother passed away last year, so that's the last time I saw Lyric, because now Lyric lived with her father in North Carolina. So last we saw prior to this weekend was last year at my mom, her grandmother's funeral, right? So for me, I'm big when it comes to family. You know what I mean? When I was younger, I was the peacemaker of the family. Whatever that was needed, especially with my grandma, was she still alive. Whenever something was happening, I get called on trying to fix things and put things together because I'm really, really big on family. And so it made sense to me to always, of course, for those who want to be around, because I can't force anybody, that don't want to be around. So it makes sense to always, when we have the opportunity, to always meet, connect, and have and build memory. I think that goes a long way. As you can tell with Lyrics talking to us right now, she's 18 now, right? And she has those fond memories when she was younger, while she was living with me, those memories that still live in her. So those are great things to always have that upbringing for your kids, or kids that you are taking care of. So with all that, right, what transpired from, or how have you felt, right? So mom passed away, which is my sister. You now had to transition and go into your father's house to live with him, right? Whom you didn't really have a relationship with, and whom lived in a whole different other state. What was that transition like? Explain that to us, because this is not just you who've ever experienced this. A lot of other kids have experienced this. I think this might shed a light for them to help them out, who probably are going through it right now.
So that was such a crazy transition, because there's a lot of things that we do in this family that they don't do in my other.
With your dad's family,
right? My dad's family, a lot of things were a lot looser and a lot free. Like, I lived in such a compact, strict household. It's my way or highway household, which is still like that in my dad's house, but like, with a spiritual tendency into it, there was a lot of things I couldn't do in my mom's household, my mom's side of the household, that I could do in my dad's side of the household. So with my dad's side of the household, I experienced a lot of first things. Like, I experienced my first birthday. I experienced just my first Thanksgiving. I experienced all those type of things. And although it was very much a culture shock, it was a heavy culture shock for me, because in North Carolina, we don't have things that we have here in Florida. So in Florida, like, I love Haitian food. I love, like, everything about it. I love humidity. I love everything. But going to North Carolina, there's not a lot of, culture that you see in there.
Gotcha.
And with my dad's household, it was a lot of adjusting for me, because first of all, I had siblings that, I could actually speak to over there. I had siblings that relatable, and that had experienced things that I have never experienced. So that was a definite change. Dealing with a different mother than with the one that you grew up with.
So like your stepmother, right?
Right. My stepmom, she's a great person. I love her, and I love my mom and everything. Right. But like two different people.
Right. So how was that transition help you, or like, what did you see that was different? It's like, okay, I had to adapt, or was a challenge to adapt? Because again, like you said, your mother, your stepmom, two different people. You've had culture shock in many facets, right? And just so you guys know, my mom, her grandmother, who she was raised in a household with, she's a Jehovah's Witness, so there was no birthdays, there was no holidays being celebrated in the household. To now transition to a household with her father and stepmother, all of that's been celebrated, all of that is a grand thing to me. So I get the culture shock. But now, what was the biggest challenge? And then what was something like, oh man, yeah, this is dope, I can adjust, because I didn't have this before, but now I see I can have this is good.
So adjusting over there, and I say one thing that really stood out to me over there that I didn't have that I had over here that I didn't really have over there, is adjusting religiously was very hard, and making friends was very, very hard. I went over there, although it was easy to just be like, hey, how are you, like, be friends with people, it was really hard to speak. Like, over there, this is the South, but that's also the South as well. Right. So over there, manners is a very big thing over there too, but speaking first is very hard. Like, it's till this day, it's a very hard thing. If somebody does not speak to me first, I don't know how to make conversation.
Gotcha.
Like, I think socially it was very challenging for me to be able to talk to folks and do things, even order food. Like, that was a hard thing for me, because
you're always quiet.
Exactly.
And stuff, right?
And grandma used to always do those things for me.
Right.
And I think, being able to have sleepovers with people outside of, the
family.
And outside of family and religion in general was like a very hard thing to do, because in my heart, I knew that, like, I belonged here. This is what, this is where I grew up, and this is the only thing I know. And in my spiritual Dane was the only thing I knew. So it's very hard for me to go to school and make friends or keep friends and still, be on the same religious, path that I was on.
Gotcha.
So I think my parents have always been like, okay, well, if you want to still do your religious thing, we're 100% going to support that. And I was great because, it's very hard to find, a church or a kingdom hall over there because it's rural. It's not, city or anything like that. But it took a lot of adjusting to and seeing my younger sister go through it. Like my sister, I kind of do my things like kind of like her, but in a different sense because I looked at her as like a person to follow kind of because I didn't know how to adjust to a life how I've had for the past 8 years. So it's like just right after how my mom passed away and I just quickly went to North Carolina, That was definitely a switch.
That's definitely for a child. And he was 8 years old, 10. So for a child at 10 years old to drastically, first and foremost, your mom was like your best friend. I remember days I would, open the door, your room door, and then y'all were talking as if it wasn't a mother or daughter. It was like y'all like really the same age and having these conversations. I used to look at her like, yo, she ain't your homegirl, she your daughter, right? So I knew the tightness, the tight-knit relationship you guys had. So now you have that for 10 years, whether it's off and on because your mom was out of town and stuff like that, trying to make things happen, move how she had to move. However, for 10 years, that's what you were used to. The religion aspect with grandma, my mom, your grandma, being a Jehovah's Witness and you raising in that, in the Kingdom Hall, to now abruptly, boom, your dad come picks you up to go to North Carolina.
That was something else. Like I think I felt so bad in the day that happened because my grandma obviously, she was telling me like you have to stay, like you have to take care of your brother, like you have to help, like don't go, you can't go. And obviously by law I have to go with my dad, and my dad's telling me, hey, we need to go. This is like I'm your dad, like you need to go. And I've spoken to him before. Me not ever meeting him ever or anything like that. That's the first time I'm seeing face to face. That's my dad, and I have to go. That day was just crazy on its own. Right. But it took a lot of adjusting to, and
it's just that I'm thinking about it. It gets me a little emotional because I just remember that time period, how hard it was on the family. Especially for me, not to take anything away from anybody else, but just being able to be like. You were with me since you were like 6 months old. You were so chubby, so thick. Like you weighed so, you were mad heavy. It was so hard, grandmother from picking you up, she couldn't pick you up. That's how big you were. So I had you since you were like 6 months old. Then 6 years old, you went with grandma. Then up to 10 years old, you was with her. Then you went to your dad. So it's a lot of shift in your life that unfortunately was unstable, right? And so that's why I go back and say how proud I am of you to hang on and to do what you had to do, because what typically happens in life is when we go through hardships, we tend to use those and use that victim card and say, and we victimize our mind, we victimize our body and say, okay, well, I went through this, so I don't have to be successful in life. Well, I went through this, so I don't need to be someone in life, right? And then you succumb to the negatives of the world, whether it's be drug addict, whatever it may be. So I'm extremely proud of you. Once I found out and heard, well, I knew he was going to do it, but once it was like officially announced, like getting graduated and stuff, I was like, yo, this is dope. You know what I mean? Considering everything that you went through in a time frame of 10 years living. You understand what I'm saying? So I lost my mom last year. I was 40 years old. You lost your mom, was 10 years old. It's a huge difference, right? And of course, just meeting your dad right then and there, like, yeah, you probably spoke to him a couple of times on the phone, but having to see him and just him coming to pick you up with the sheriff, because they went through the courts and everything else with your stepmom, I can't imagine how that is. I can't imagine it, but I know it was just tough, right? So, boom. So now you're living in North Carolina, you're seeing the adjustments that you have to make. You identify the culture shock. You identify, okay, oh wow, they're celebrating my birthday. They're celebrating holidays and stuff like that, which is something that you've never experienced, right? So kind of going back to what I just mentioned, how you could have used all of these that you went through and victimized or use that victim card. Explain to me what kept you going.
So I think it was so. As soon as I got there to North Carolina, it was really hard. Like anytime anybody would even talk about this waterfall of tears, like it just I couldn't do it. I really tried. My parents, like when I got old enough to understand, they tried to explain to me, you know, what happened and all that other stuff. But I couldn't speak to my mom. I couldn't speak about my mother until about like 2 years ago because it was a really hard thing to do. So with that, knowing that what my mom left her legacy or her, you know, I'm like my dad likes to say, I'm literally her in a different form. And
it's
a reincarnate of her basically. And what she left for me, I feel like, was that is the only reason I feel like I could hold on today. And the only reason why I feel like I can get out of bed every morning for those 4 years after that happened, that's the only thing that was going. And what my dad had explained to me was that, hey, so I think Lorenzo's dad is going to try to get him as well. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, I have to grow older so I can get Lorenzo down. But I didn't know that Lorenzo was already with Uncle Greg. I didn't know that he was, you know, already doing fine. So in my head, I was like, okay, well, I got to be good at school. I got to either go to college. I got to do something to be able to make it in life, to either finish what my mom started or just, you know, do better and do 100% better.
Right.
And it was really hard. I think from 2019 to 2022, I fell into a real hard depression. I feel like a lot of parents say that, you know, you don't know what depression is, you don't know what struggle is, but I feel like I semi went through that because I had already lost my mom. So
let me stop you there. Don't say semi. You went through it. Don't ever let somebody else dictate how you feel in life. You understand what I'm saying? Because like I sit here and tell you, and I'm telling you from my heart, I don't know because I've never experienced. I've experienced certain things which I don't expect somebody else to feel how I feel. So it's the same thing. So don't ever allow someone to dictate how you felt, how you're feeling, and to minimize what's going on within you and your mental. You understand? So I'm sorry because I just kind of irked me to hear that. But yeah, so you went through depression with everything that's going on from 2019 to what?
I'd say that's 20. Those years, I really felt like, and I'm not trying to make it like sad or anything, but I really felt like, okay, well, there's nothing here. Like, I lost my mother. I don't talk to my family on my mother's side as much, you know, as I used to. My family on this side, we were not getting along whatsoever, and we were hitting crazy bumps in me and my dad's relationship, me and my stepmom's relationship. It was really hard at that point to wake up, you know, keep going. Because there's times where I was like, no, I can't do this. Like, I really need to, and that's why Dad had put me in there in the beginning. But like, I felt like he should have kept me there because I feel like if he had kept me there, then I wouldn't have been struggling mentally as much as I did. Right. Yeah. So I mean, Lorenzo was really played a part. But I always told my Army instructor in high school, I was like, yeah, when I get out, and in middle school, I was like, yeah, when I get out, I gotta get Lorenzo. I gotta get him and get custody. You know, he needs to know his mom. He needs to, whatever. He needs to know his sister, whatnot. Right. And I felt like I owed it to him. Get out of high school and make something of myself so I could give him the life that, you know, mom tried to give me. And so that was the main focus. And mainly I feel like since I wasn't getting along with my family then, I was ready to get out. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I should stay in Florida. I shouldn't, you know, I can't do this. But
and for me, like, I knew it was a challenge. How deep, how much, I didn't know that. But like I always told you, my door was always open for you. I remember this like it was yesterday. You and I had a conversation. It's like, Uncle Mike, as soon as I turn 18, can I come down to Miami? So, yo, do what you got to do. Although I have things that I'm trying to handle outside of this country and whatever else it may be, but all of that is to have a better life tomorrow. You understand? For all those that I love, including you, my kids, whoever else it may be. And so, but I've always told you, my door is always open to you. We will find a way. We'll figure it out. You know what I mean? Because that's how much you mean to me. So I know You went through it. And the thing about life, we all go through. You see the deepest hole you've ever been in? Somebody when I've gone, no. But I think something you said that's extremely important to me is the fact that you said you had your younger brother, Lorenzo, and mine, and that's what made you have that drive to get up each day, go to school, and get your diploma. We each, like for me, and this is why I love you so much, like you could have easily used the victim card, and people would have been like, oh, I understand. She went through this, not getting a fine, you know what, but could have said, I understand because she went through this. Because not everybody want to see you win. Not everyone want to see you win. Everybody could eat with you and laugh at you. You have dinner with them or whatever the case may be, but not everybody want to see you win. There's more people that want to see you lose than the people that want to see you. At 18 years old, where you're at right now in life, just graduated high school, you need to identify those. You need to identify those people. Those are the people that will come be friends with you or even family members, but all in all, in the back of their head, they want backstab. Well, they're backstab. You understand? You would go a long way in life once you're able to identify these people, and then just guess what? Just stay away from them. No matter who they are, just stay away from them. And those who are here to push you, those who are here to, champion your wins, those are the people that you need around your corner. As you get older, you're going to remember this conversation more and more. Like, yo, Uncle Mike was right. You understand? Because that's how I'm able to live. I've gone through that whole, I was like, why am I here? You understand? And this was before having kids, right? Now that I have two beautiful kids, two healthy kids, I thank God, and I'm very grateful. And I'm just working my ass off to be able to leave something for them. You understand? To live a better life than I've ever lived, right? And so that's what drives me, right? And so, and even with your goals and your endeavors of, okay, you know what, I'm graduating high school, do what I gotta do, make some money and get Lorette, you can still do that. Yes, he's with my brother, your uncle, that's fine. He's handling it and stuff like that. But at some point, if you want to take over and say, hey, uncle, I got this. This is my younger brother and I want to take care of him, you can absolutely do that, Always work for what you want. Always work for what you want. So I have a thing where I say, what you want tomorrow is what you work for today. I'll repeat that. What you want for tomorrow is what you work for today. So when you're in the position today, that's not what you're working. You're working for the position you want to be tomorrow. Always keep that in mind. And you will see that gradually more and more. You're going to be ambitious and you're going to get the things that you need in life done. You're going to be successful. And success doesn't mean being a millionaire, but success means being comfortable, being in your own skin, and loving what you're doing, okay? So, we hear you. I hear you. I appreciate you coming on board and having this conversation with me. Like I mentioned earlier, there are millions and millions of kids who are experiencing something such as, to be honest, is traumatizing, right? Such a trauma and life-changing events. And so I'm glad that you're able to express some of those thoughts and explaining to us the changes, the culture shocks that you've had personally, what is driving you to do better, right? Which is amazing. Any final thoughts, words that you want to talk to the people about and kind of like letting people know, hey, listen, how things are in terms of anything that you can think of?
So I definitely believe in the end goal, I feel. And, I always see myself as, I have to be successful in life. Whether I don't have to be rich, but I have to be successful in life to be able to be satisfied with myself. And if you always have a goal every week for something, and every month for something, then every year for something, then you're ultimately going to reach that goal, whether it be to help with your mental health, whether to help financially, whatever you need. I feel like life is definitely like a tunnel, and there's definitely a bunch of, doors to open and doors that you have to close to be able to get to the end of that light at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
So it took a lot of closing doors for me to be able to, be where I am today. And it took a lot of opening doors for me to be who I am. So I just feel like, you have to go through it to be able to have the end. You have to go through things to be able to be content, to be able to be content with life. And so no matter how much of up and downs that I've been through from the age 5 to 18, I feel like if I had to go through it again to be where I am today, I would. But would I do some things different? Yes, I would do. But I really hope that one day I'm gonna look back on this at 30 and whatever and be like, I did it. That's the same way I felt graduating. It's the same way I'm gonna feel when I get my degree, whenever I finish my 4-year term military. Whenever I tell my kids what happened in life and be able to help them the way I didn't have that help when I was. So, yeah.
There you have it. That's amazing. Powerful words, and you sound way above your years. So that all happens to the fact that you went through what you right. So I can say, and we didn't have these conversations before we got on live or before we started recording. This is just hey, let's just talk. This is genuine conversation with my niece, aka my first daughter. So and this is the most she's ever spoke to. So that's why I'm like, I have goosebumps. Like it's phenomenal, like just to hear her talk and speak, and because she doesn't speak much. And so which is fine. We understand. That's how my kids are as well. So I'm glad that you were able to open up. It means a lot to me. And again, no matter who, and they may reach out to somebody as well that's watching us talking, right? So thanks for being open. Thanks for having these conversations, these tough conversations, and you are always welcome to join us again at the Jigga Vision channel. I know you're getting ready in a couple of weeks to head out to boot camp and stuff. Always know that I'm here for you. Always know that no matter what day, time, no matter what it is, you need somebody to talk to. The door is not only open, phone line is open. You can call me or come anytime you want so we can talk and see what things are. So with all that being said, guys, it was a pleasure. This is again my niece, aka my first daughter. Pleasure for you guys watching us here in Jigga Vision, and we're out. Till next time.